Coming up on today's Louisville Real Estate Show, Emily is giving her boyfriend the heave-ho, but she's worried maybe he won't leave. What can she do? Also, Zach has a mold problem and is considering getting rid of it with a paintbrush. And we've got 13 mistakes you may be making and I may be making while doing our spring cleaning. Hi, everybody. Bob Sokoler, owner of the Sokoler team at RE/MAX Properties East. Thank you for joining us here on News Radio 840 WHAS. We're here till the top of the hour. And among myself, we've got Brad Lawler. He's owner of Home Team Inspection Service. They come in as a team. They get the job done to inspect your home, whether it's before you put it on the market or if you are buying a home, they do a great job of inspecting it for you. You can reach Brad at 844-411-TEAM. And, oh, yeah, by the way, he also owns Team Bug Out, which we're going to need his expertise on that as well. And, again, if you're getting rid of those pesky pests, the pests that come in through the holes in the house and all, you can reach Brad also at 844-411-TEAM. Also here is a very lovely lady who is one of the head honchos over at Pitt & Frank Attorneys, LLC, Cora Henderson. They do a great job of getting your loan closed and a variety of other legal things that can be done for you. You can reach Cora at 895-9900. And if you're thinking of selling your home now or in the future, we'd love to help you. I own the team. I come out, and it's a no obligation, free time of mine just to tell you what the path is to get from here to there to get you on the market and sold. You can reach me anytime on my cell phone at 376-5483. That translates to 376-LIVE, or go to bobsellslouisville.com and fill out the form. And then also you can get a free estimate of what your home is worth immediately by going to WeSellLouisville.com and clicking on the top of the page. All right, a little later on, those 13 mistakes that we may be making while spring cleaning. But let's get right to some of the emails that we get from all of you as our listeners, both here in the Louisville area and around the world, because we are on iHeartRadio. So Brad Lawler, Home Team Inspection Service, and Cora over at Pitt & Frank, you're going to want to get on this as well. Zach is about to sell his home. He has a problem with mold in the bathroom. And he says in this email, he's asking actually, if he paints over it, will it pass a home inspection? Brad? Let's start there.
Well, all right. So here's what I'm going to say, and I'm going to let Cora talk about the other stuff. But
yeah,
if a client paints over something and the home inspector is not going to be, we may not know that there's been a fresh coat of paint. Now, if there's something that looks like a patch job, we might recognize that, but we don't know how, what the conditions were before that paint went onto the wall, because the home inspection itself is a visual only, non-invasive, non-destructive evaluation of the home. So that being said, painting over mold is only going to be a very temporary solution. Now maybe he's using, product like Kills or something that's more of an oil-based or shellac-based sealer that'll do a better job. But if you're just using latex paint and trying to paint over mold, you're probably, a day or two later, the mold's going to be right back. So I wouldn't waste my time trying to paint over the problem. I would clean up the problem, because treating that mold is a pretty simple thing to do. Worst case, you just remove the piece of drywall that the mold is on. If chemical treatments don't work, just remove the material, patch it, and make the proper repair, and then you don't have to worry about the mold coming back.
Or find the source of the mold, which is water typically from behind in the shower. All right, so
it's moisture, right? So you're going to have to remove the moisture. So in a bathroom, it may be that they're not running the exhaust. Maybe the exhaust fan doesn't work. Maybe they've got a bathroom that has a window that you have to open in order to let the steam out. But yes, that's certainly removing the moisture is going to be the first leg of the stool that has to be removed in order to stop the growth of the mold.
And from a legal standpoint, Cora, over at Pitt & Frank, this can be a tricky wicket, because if the mold comes back, and typically it might if it's not cured, the buyer of the home can come back after the seller, right?
You're exactly right. And I concur with everything Brad said. So that is not going to bode well as a seller if you try to cover that up, if you try to conceal what could be a material defect. I mean, mold, as Brad had mentioned, it's not just aesthetic. It's not just simply painting that over. There could be a real cause behind it that will continue to exist and just create further damage. So that could create potentially a misrepresentation claim or fraud claim even, right? because you know it's there after the closing. So it's not going to work. That is going to survive closing, just like that. The mold will survive the repaint there if not properly treated. Also, I'll make mention that on a seller's disclosures that are required there for your residential transactions, it makes mention of the presence of mold and if it's been properly remediated. So you want to make sure that your actions are consistent with whatever you're disclosing. You always want to disclose, okay? So we want to err on the side of disclosure, however big, however small, get it taken care of. And just when you think that you're going to sweep it under that paintbrush or sweep it under that roller, it will come back to rear its ugly head, and the damages could be far more than the cost to have properly completed it in the beginning.
Not to mention losing sleep. All right, we move on. A reminder, you can see a rebroadcast of the show. Yes, see it in addition to hear it. You can go to LouisvilleAnswers.com. That's LouisvilleAnswers.com, all one word. And it's our YouTube channel where these shows reside, and you'll be able to watch this and several hundred or more other shows that we have there from the Louisville Real Estate Show. Also, a reminder, you can go to LouisvilleZillow.com or LouisvilleGoogle.com to see our reviews of our Sokoler team, because we are very proud of them. Back over to Cora with this question from Emily, who sent us an email saying she had given her ex-boyfriend an eviction letter 30 days to get out. He acknowledged the eviction letter, stating he would be out. He said something about having an eviction on his record, and he didn't want that, but she's not sure what that means, and we'll talk about that in a second. But she is wondering if there is an eviction letter sent and he doesn't move out, what's the next step? So let's start with, is an eviction on your record, Cora?
I believe so. And I also think landlords check that. So, whatever subscriptions that they may have access to whenever they're looking for a tenant's potential leasing history, they may be able to find that. Certainly, if it's a case, that could be public record that they could look up within that certain county. And that may not bode well in the event he wants to lease in the future. I know that's certainly true in a commercial lease environment, that landlords will often look at the leasing history of any potential tenant. That also goes to the terms of the lease. For instance, you may ask for a personal guarantee or change the terms of your lease if someone doesn't have good leasing history. How do you hedge that risk that they may not perform and you may be staring down another eviction? So landlords want to avoid that at all costs possible. So I would agree with Emily and give him the nudge to do the right thing, move out. It sounds like it'd be best for both parties in that instance.
And if he doesn't move out quickly, what's the next step for her? Because that was another question.
Involve the courts.
Okay.
So give us a call. We do have an eviction attorney on staff. We'd be delighted to help you with that next step and do what's necessary in order to legally secure, your rights and have him removed properly and his property properly from the premises. Also, just make certain too that because we mentioned boyfriend, we see a lot of unmarried couples taking title to property. So make sure that she didn't add him to title when she bought the house, because that does give somebody different rights than it would be if they're just an invitee or a boyfriend or girlfriend or leasing the property.
Got it. There are a lot of people who are thinking about selling their homes this year. And if you are thinking this is going to be the year you want to start prepping right now, that's because experts say the best week to list your house is coming up fast. A recent Realtor.com study analyzed years of housing market trends that excludes the 2020 year because of COVID. They found that April 13th through the 19th is expected to be the ideal window for putting your home on the market this year. They've identified April 13th through the 19th as the best week to list for sellers, and it's a better price. There are more people in the market, and it will sell faster. So just FYI, if you're thinking you're going to want to sell it and you're thinking sooner now because you heard this, I am always available for you. I can jump out and get you on the market between April 13th and 19th, as you're hearing right now. All right, we move back over to Brad Lawler, who is owner of Home Team Inspection Service and also Team Bug Out. William is buying a home that had a home inspection, Brad, and in this email, he says the report was more than 100 pages with more than 50 problems. He is wondering, how does he tell which ones are the important problems to ask for repairs? And he's also saying in the email, he's asking if he's under the impression that asking for everything, the seller's going to shut down, say no, and just he'll have to walk away. What does he do there, Brad?
So what you do is you get a sample report from your home inspector before you hire him. the challenge that we have is sometimes these reports are boilerplate language. So there's a lot of just generic content that is in these reports. And so it is very difficult to figure out what should be called out and what shouldn't be. Because if you look at a home team inspection report, for instance, I mean, our average report is going to be somewhere around 35 pages long, roughly. And we have a summary that's up near the top of it so that you can kind of identify the biggest things, those material defects, like Cora had mentioned earlier. Those are highlighted out there. But the problem is that every inspector's report is a little bit different. Some put a summary at the end. Some don't use a summary at all because they think all 100 pages of their report are very, very important, and every page should be read. I agree that every page of a home inspection report should be read because there are what we call notes. There's a lot of information about maintenance on the home that needs to continue. So you want to read the full content. So the only advice that I can have for him is read the whole report, because you're going to have to figure out, you and your agent, the agents are pretty, well versed in going through these reports too. But when you have 100 pages in your report, it's just tough. And there's so much just generic language in there that it's hard to pick out the important pieces from just the ink on paper. So again, the advice is, before you hire that home inspector, get a copy of the sample report, because that's the only thing that a home inspector is delivering to you is a written report. If you can't use the written report that you see as a sample, don't hire that home inspector.
Yeah. Also, there's some home inspectors who will add cosmetic items that really aren't negotiable because you saw the house at the time of the first or second viewing, and you already made the offer based on what the house's condition is visually, correct?
Well, keep in mind that cosmetic items are not within the scope of a home inspection. So I'm not going to come in and tell you. Yeah. So I'm not going to come in and tell you that the curtains from 1978 are out of style and need to be replaced. That should not be in my report because it's not in the scope. Some home inspectors do that as, quote, a courtesy.
Yeah.
But home inspectors listening to the radio show, all you're doing is you're going outside your scope, you're going outside your standards of practice. And now if you miss something, well, you talked about the curtains and the paint. Why didn't you talk about, the crack in the garage floor? You're outside your standards, so you got to catch everything then.
Very good point. A reminder, if you want to hear what sellers are saying about us and see what they're saying, I've done a lot of videos at the closing tables. Go to LouisvilleSellersTalk.com. That's LouisvilleSellersTalk.com. When we come back, 13 mistakes people are making, you, me, and maybe Brad and Cora, while spring cleaning. Continuing with us after the break, Cora Henderson, who's one of the head honchos over at Pitt and Frank Attorneys, LLC. They do a great job of getting your loan closed. They dot the I's, cross the T's, and then some. You can reach Cora over at Pitt and Frank at 895-9900. Also continuing with us, Brad Lawler, owner of Home Team Inspection Service. They come in as a team. They're the #1 home team inspection service 10 years in a row. 10 years in a row. That's amazing. Yeah, in the United States. And he also owns Team Bug Out, and we have a question coming up for his Team Bug Out hat in a moment. You can reach him at 844-411-TEAM. And if you're thinking of selling your home now or in the future, I'll come out free, no obligation. We'll talk about what the procedures are, what you need to do, maybe not do, and also what the price of the home is. We'll do it live on my computer. I'll show you how it all works. You can reach me at 376-5483. That translates into 376 live, or go to bobsellslouisville.com and fill out the form and hit submit. And for that free, no obligation analysis of what your home is worth, go to WeSellLouisville.com and click on the top of the page. We're back in a moment on News Radio 840 WHAS. News Radio 840 WHAS, Bob Sokoler, the Louisville Real Estate Show, here with you to the top of the hour. Thank you, Barbara Corcoran of Shark Tank fame, who does a great job over on Shark Tank and is a mentor and a friend, and I appreciate everything that she does for us. We are continuing with the show, and continuing with us, Cora Henderson, one of the head honchos at Pitt and Frank Attorneys, LLC. They do a great job getting the loan closed. They do a variety of other things, legal matters, things like wills and a variety of things. You can reach out to Cora at 895-9900. Also continuing with us, Brad Lawler, owner of Home Team Inspection Service and Team Bug Out, and you can reach them for closing, getting ready to close on your house. They'll inspect it, whether it's new or a resale, and also for any pests that might be crawling into your house. You can reach Brad at 844-411-TEAM. And if you're thinking of selling your home, I'd love to be able to help you. You can reach me. And by the way, I work in both Louisville, surrounding counties, and southern Indiana. We have a team of 10 plus agents, but it's me. I'll come out if you're going to sell your home, and we'll talk about the process. You can reach me at 376-5483 or 376 live, or go to bobsellslouisville.com louisville.com and fill out the form. There's no home too big and no home too small. I will help everyone. And for free computer analysis, go to wesellouisville.com and click on the top of the page. All right, there are a lot of mistakes we may be making when you're cleaning, especially now about this time when a lot of spring cleaning plans. It's a way to refresh our home, and many people make these mistakes. For example, not having a plan starting without a strategy can leave tasks half finished. Cleaning from top to bottom is in the wrong order. You always want to clean from the top to the bottom and dust before vacuuming. Otherwise, you'll just push dirt into freshly cleaned surfaces. So bottom to top, top to bottom, you want to start at the top, work down. Ignoring high touch areas like light switches, doorknobs, remote controls, handles, they all collect tons of germs and are often skipped. Using the wrong cleaning products can be a problem. Not all surfaces can handle the same cleaners. For example, vinegar is great for many things, but can damage natural stone like granite and marble. Forgetting to clean your cleaning tools like dirty mops, vacuums, sponges, and spread the grime rather than removing it. Decluttering without a system, for example, throwing everything into a pile without sorting, can make decluttering overwhelming. Use the keep, donate, and toss method. A pile of keep, a pile of donate, and a pile of toss. Don't let the cleaners sit too long. Many disinfectants need a few minutes to work. Spraying and immediately wiping the stuff off doesn't allow them to kill germs properly. Read the directions. Overloading the washing machine, I'm guilty of that. Stuffing too many items in it can reduce its efficiency. Skipping the mattress and the pillows, you need to clean those, believe it or not. Mattresses collect dust mites and bacteria. Vacuum them, wash pillows regularly to keep your bed fresh. Also, forgetting about air vents and filters. Clean those. I just cleaned my HVAC vent filter just the other night. Also, cleaning windows on a sunny day. Sunlight causes window cleaners to dry too fast, leaving streaks, so do it on a cloudy day. Using too much water on wood floors can be a real problem because it's going to soak into the wood and create a bigger problem. And not maintaining the cleanliness on a regular basis is not just a spring cleaning time. We should be doing that all year long. So hopefully that helps you with some idea, some things that hopefully can help you in the spring cleaning mode. Back over to Cora Henderson. Jim sent us an email. He owns a home and recently got married and moved into a new home. The original home has now been rented. Jim's wondering, since he filed for homestead on his original home, can his wife file for homestead, the new wife, file for homestead on the new home? I also spoke to Will, thank you, Will, who also listens to our show over at PVA. So, Cora, do you have a clue as to what the answer is? I know this is out of your normal boundaries.
Yes. So, and I want to make the distinction between Kentucky and Indiana, because I know you serve both areas, and certainly we probably have listeners in both areas. So, homestead means something totally different in Kentucky and Indiana. So in Indiana, your homestead exemption on your taxes, it's for your primary residence. You can only have one. So you would have to relinquish on another property to place it on a new property. And those are the types of questions that we ask during closings for Indiana property. And the savings is quite substantial on the homestead exemption. In Kentucky, the eligibility for the homestead exemption is in relation to your age. So you're only allowed to file for the homestead exemption on your property taxes in Kentucky if you are of the age of 65 or older. So the year that you turn 65, you are eligible to apply for that. You can even do it online. We have a form that we can send you, but it's very easily accessible to apply for that. But unfortunately, the savings isn't as substantial as Indiana. So instead of going in half on the property taxes, it's going to give you a reduction. And I think unless they've changed it,
25%.
I think it's actually 38,500.
Oh,
38,500.
Okay.
So one of the things I would love to see in the future is to see that increased in light of our amazing property values going up and up. You know, we need to see something a little bit, higher to give our aging loved ones a break there. We deserve it when we reach 65, right? And so, getting back to your caller's question, and congratulations on the marriage, by the way, we definitely would want to ask, is this Kentucky or is this Indiana? And then follow those rules appropriately. So Indiana, he'd need to relinquish and then, place that on the property, since that will be his new primary residence, irrespective of what his age is. And if it's in Kentucky, then, of course, if he's over the age of 65, he will have to apply for that on his new property. Or if his wife has already secured that, he wouldn't need to because you've already got the 38.5 or whatever it is these days off of that on the property tax bill when it comes out.
I think based on when I talked to Will, though, he over at PVA, he says really you can only have one property with getting that exemption.
That is correct.
And so
That is
in
correct.
Kentucky, and he says, and there are a lot of people who have homes in Florida and they have an exemption down there. He says,
Yeah.
be advised, they call cross state, the individual property
Absolutely.
evaluation, and they'll check to see if you've got an exemption on your
Yeah.
home here back and forth.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
don't try
So
to
I'm
game
not
the
sure,
system.
if it is Kentucky, if his wife has it on the home they're living in now, can he keep it on his existing home that he's moved out of?
Yeah, it's above my pay grade. You're going to have to call
Me
PBA.
too. Me
Ask,
too.
ask for
Let's
Will.
call Will.
Yes, Brad.
Hey,
Brad's got
hey,
something.
Cora, I got a follow-up question. If the house is in joint ownership, do both parties have to be 65 in order to claim that?
My understanding is just one.
What?
Just one of
That's
them.
what I understand as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
How about
That's
that?
good to know.
Yeah. Good. There
But,
you go.
only our fine folks down in our government offices there and the taxing authorities will be able to fully verify and grant that. Unfortunately, we don't have the magic wand to do that. But
That's true.
Okay.
All right, we move on back over to Brad Lawler, Home Team Inspection Service, or in this case, Team Bug Out's hat. Stan emails this question: what are the teeny black bugs in my house near the window? Brad?
I don't know. There's a lot of teeny black bugs near windows right now. We have we've got forward flies that are out and about. We have springtails that have gotten out. We've had some blooms there. I've gotten a number of calls just over the last several days from people who are seeing very small ants that have suddenly appeared in their homes. A lot of that is caused by those ants getting flushed out by the rain that we had. So yeah, give me a call or text me a picture of the little black bug, because there's a whole bunch of them that are out in this spring bloom season. So good news is most all of those can be controlled, very, very effectively. But yeah, there's a whole host of those that would fall in the little black bug category.
What's the thing I bought a couple of months ago? That's
Zevo.
So I've got now
Zevo.
3 of those. Zevo.
Yeah.
And they're not cheap, but they do it. They do a job. And now I read somewhere, I think maybe I heard that they have a bigger one. You can get expanded.
Yeah.
And so, okay. But I will tell you it works. And then one more follow-up while we're on the subject. Do you remember a couple of weeks ago, Brad, we talked about that Vermont stick, the weather stick?
Yeah. The weather
Right?
stick. Yes.
Well, I have to
Vermont
tell you,
weather stick.
I got it. I put it up, and I am here to tell you it works. It works.
Bob, the question is, did it take 10 inches of rain to get it work, or was it,
I don't think, and it's not going to tell me it's 10 inches. All of a sudden, it goes from pointing up to pointing down in a matter of a couple of hours. I go, whoa! So
yeah,
the Vermont weather stick is what.
Yes, the
Just do a
Vermont
Google
weather stick.
search. Yeah.
Yeah.
Then other states. The one I got was $10 and change, and it wasn't Vermont. It was another state, but it worked.
Yeah.
All right, back over to Cora Henderson over at Pitt and Frank Attorneys LLC. We received this email from Nicholas who says he was touring a house with his agent. They walked in the backyard. He fell into a hole, injuring his leg because there was some sort of metal in the hole. He says there were no warnings, no barriers, no ropes around the hole. He's wondering, can he sue for injuries? Cora?
Most likely, yes. So that's super unfortunate. I hope that the homeowner has homeowner's insurance coverage for that, whether it be embedded in the homeowner's insurance policy itself or have some umbrella coverages. I think that's a very important conversation for all of our listeners to have with their insurance agents and brokers right now. It's just to really understand what coverage you have in place. And that goes with roofs as well. When we suffer all of these, whether it be hailstorms or high winds and floods and all the things. So revisit a conversation on your insurance to see what your coverages are. Swimming pool, you want to ask what kind of coverage do you have? You have people coming over to swim. If you are a home seller and you know that there are some treacherous situations, maybe you're missing some stairs, maybe your back deck is in disrepair, maybe there's a hole in the backyard, like in this instance. I think it would be wise to converse about a potential hold harmless and indemnification agreement with a real estate attorney to see if that's something where you need to pre-screen or pre-warn, even have documents and disclaimers and waivers signed before somebody comes onto the premises. So if the seller knew about that hole and did not tell anybody, that would not bode well for them in this fact pattern. But insurance is probably going to end up paying out on that.
Yeah, and that's really a warning for all sellers if you're thinking about putting your home on the market or it's on the market. Do a walk around. Make sure there are no dangerous areas that could hurt somebody. Brad, did you have something you wanted to add on that?
No, I was just going to say, I think all of our personal injury attorney friends just tuned in a little bit closer. One other thing, Bob. Dogs. I would suggest that dogs be put in a secure area, whether you're doing a home inspection on it, whether you're showing the property. A lot of times, we find quote, friendly dogs that when they're outside of their owners, they're not so friendly anymore. And, even if they're in a backyard, the home inspectors have to have access to that backyard. I'm sure sellers and listing agents are going to want to have access to the backyard. So just do your dog a favor, lower the stress level for them and then put them into, a safe, secure area that they're not, going to be stressed out by people.
And brilliant idea, because I recently heard of a lawsuit. Someone in my office received compensation because they were bit. And listen, the dog was locked up and broke out of the room. So, make sure when you say secure, make sure it's secure. And if that can't be accomplished, you may need to temporarily remove them from the premises, take them to a doggy daycare if it's just not worth the risk. Also, even if you think you have them on a leash aggression is real, for dogs, for animals. And so while you think they're safe because they're on a leash, if somebody comes onto their land, they may quickly turn away from you, even if they are on that leash.
Yeah, and if your dog bites and you've got them locked up, and just put some sort of note that says, please don't open this door. My dog could bite you. I don't want you to get injured. What you could also do is take a picture of the room that the dogs are in without the dogs in them, and then print it and put it on the door itself of the room that is closed and say, this is what the room looks like. At least that gives them an idea of what's behind the door.
Yeah. And it may not be a dog. It may be a boa constrictor or a peacock or a lion.
Could be anything, right?
You never know what you're going to find these days.
You never know, but safety is important for everything and the good points all. We are out of time, and my thanks to Cora Henderson over at Pitt and Frank Attorneys, LLC. They do a great job of getting the loan closed, and it doesn't matter who the mortgage company is. They work with all mortgage companies. You can call Cora and get ready to get closed at 895-9900. Also, my thanks to Brad Lawler, owner of Home Team Inspection Service. They come in as a team. He also owns Team Bugout. He's a very busy guy, and he does a great job, both his teams and himself. You can reach Brad anytime at 844-411-TEAM. And if you're thinking of selling your home now or in the future, I would love to help you. Love, I would tell you. No home too big, no home too small. And I work both in the Louisville, surrounding counties, and southern Indiana. In fact, I went to Radcliffe this past week to talk about listing a home down there. You can reach me anytime on my cell phone at 376-5483. That translates into 376-LIVE, which is easier to remember, maybe. Also, go to bobsellslouisville.com and fill out the form and hit submit. And for that free, no-obligation analysis of what your home is worth, simply go to WeSellLouisville.com and click on the top of the page. A reminder, next week, a new Zillow quiz is going to help us decide which features add value to our home. This should be interesting. We're out of time. See you next Sunday on News Radio 840 WHAS.